So this is the oil filter and the O-rings and such from my '04 Mercedes S500. And I just kind of wanted to show you what's going on with this. I just did an oil change after driving it a little over 7,000 miles, which is a lot for me. That's actually, I think that is the most miles I've ever gone on an oil change ever on a car that I've owned. And the reason I was okay doing that is it's almost exclusively highway miles for this car. I just use it for taking on road trips and stuff. And I mean, it is my daily driver. I just living out here in a rural area. It's pretty far to get anywhere, so I usually just hop on the highway and go for 50 miles or so at a time. So that's pretty much, that's the best case scenario for your oil changes. If you're doing a mix of driving, I would definitely recommend doing less than that on an oil change. But for me, that works out pretty well. And This filter is not any sort of Mercedes OEM filter or the one everybody recommends. I think it's a MANN filter with its fleece. As far as I can tell, I think this is paper, which they say not to use. So I just wanted to test it out because I don't like to, take people's word for that. I like to test it for myself, and I don't see anything wrong with it. On the outside, it's this is the cheapest possible filter. I got like three of these for $15 from China on eBay. Yeah, I don't really see. It's not separating. It's got a metal mesh on the inside, which is good. That's a great sign. Like to see that. It looks fairly well put together. I don't see any issues. I'm gonna cut this open. We can take a look at the inside of it in a minute here. And then it also comes with these O-rings in the kit. So I just replaced those. There's another one that I can never find where to replace it. I don't know where that last O-ring goes because these are all the ones that I took off kind of that filter stick. So this filter will fit onto like a kind of a stick looking thing and it goes into the housing. But yeah, I just wanted to show these aren't really, they're still totally flexible. And again, these came, this, all these O-rings in this filter were about $5 from China. So to me, that's a great value, especially when it held up, this long on 7,000 miles. I mean, that's great. That's really good. So I would be totally confident in reusing all these O-rings. But because they come in the kit, I just replace them every time. But if yours don't, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I just wouldn't go too many oil changes reusing them because you don't want them to spring a leak or something, cause an oil pressure issue. But most of these filters, I think, come with them, so it's not a big deal. So let me show you what the new. I've got one new one left, so let me show you what the new one from China. Oh, and I was going to mention. So usually I reuse these copper washers on the drain plug. This time it looks a little bit distorted. It got this kind of lip on it. Maybe I over tightened it. The torque spec is pretty high. I think it's either 30 or 35 Newton meters. I can't remember. That's a lot of cranking force on a little 13 millimeter bolt. So maybe I over tightened that a bit, but no big deal. I had some more of them. These are, you can get the, if you want to buy if you search by the size, by the car itself on one of these auto parts sites, these will be like a couple bucks each, which is a total rip off. If you just measure your drain plug, you can get these for like a couple cents each. These copper washers are very, very cheap. Normally, I reuse them by just heating them up with a torch and dipping them in water. But this time, I wasn't gonna do that with this. And then I tried to heat it up with the torch, and maybe it was too cold out or something. It was just taking forever, so I just got a new one. Whatever. Um, so we'll see the new one. So see, this is what it comes like, and it's got the O-rings and stuff. And yeah, I think they seem fine. They seem like pretty decent quality. Um, I'm gonna continue using these unless I have an issue. So that's awesome. $5 for a filter, and then I don't know, less than $40 for the oil. These are very cheap cars to run. Um, and as far as what oil I use, so this oil change I used Pennzoil Platinum, not the good Pennzoil Platinum. It's like the cheap Pennzoil Platinum that you find at Walmart, which I didn't really understand the difference at the time. But basically, when you see the tests that say Pennzoil Platinum is like the best oil, it's like this special stuff that you can only get online typically. That's very expensive, and then they also put the Pennzoil Platinum name on this much cheaper oil that they sell at stores, which is not nearly as good. So it's kind of a scam. I didn't really understand the difference then, so I'm not gonna keep buying Pennzoil Platinum. So this oil change, I just got the Walmart Super Tech oil, which it seems a little crazy putting Walmart oil in a Mercedes, but I think it's good oil, and it's probably much better than the stuff that was available in 2004 for this car anyway. So I'm very confident with that. But I will update if any issues arise from that. And as far as the viscosity, I've switched over to 5W30 on it, and it's really hard to say what like the spec is, because they give these weird recommendations. They don't say a specific viscosity. The people at the parts store told me, you can either use 5W30 or 5W40. And the way he explained it was 5W30 will give you better fuel economy, and 5W40 will protect the engine better. I have seen no evidence of either of those since I switched. I'm not getting any better gas mileage. So if you're thinking of switching to 5W30 for gas mileage, definitely don't do that. That is not the case at all, at least in my experience. I get like exactly the same. Um, and as far as not protecting the engine, I've seen no evidence that it's not protecting it just as well. If anything, with how cold it was this winter, it may be a little bit better to have 5W30 in it over winter, at least, because I think it flows a little bit better at very cold temperatures. So that's good to have. But yeah, I don't really think there's too much to that. I think it's mostly just what you have available is what I would use. At least to me, 5W40 is very uncommon, and it's definitely more expensive, and you just don't have the same selection. Like I don't even think they stock like the Super Tech 5W40 at the local Walmart. So I'm not gonna bother with that. I'm just gonna keep using 5W30 until I have any reason not to. And maybe I'll find one when I open up this filter. If there's like metal shavings in there, then maybe it's time to switch to 5W40. But I don't think that's gonna be the case. This car, for background on the car, it's just a little bit over 101,000 miles. It's an '04, so it's been on the road for over 20 years now. It had 5 owners before me, so this car has been. You'd think it's been through the ringer. You'd think it's kind of uh, kind of worn out. Doesn't seem to be the case at all. I mean, the thing runs like a clock. It's not making any noises. There's no codes. It's very smooth. Got plenty of power. It gets good gas mileage. I get 25 on the highway. In my opinion, that's great for a big heavy car with a V8 and four-wheel drive. I mean, that's very good. Like modern cars get, I would imagine they're not getting much better than that for a similar vehicle. Even with all that crazy like direct injection and stuff like that. I don't think you're gonna beat 25 miles per gallon in a car of that size. Because keep in mind, this thing weighs almost 4,500 pounds, and it's all wheel drive. So that's another thing. So I'm really happy with it, and it's been extremely reliable. But anyways, let's get this filter cut open. So let me I'm gonna do that off camera. I won't subject you to. Yeah, I think I'm gonna cut all these cords and then try and slice it. It is pretty solid, so I don't know how that's gonna go. So give me a minute here, and I'll be right back. All right, so I'm not gonna go ahead and cut this entire thing apart. It's kind of a pain because of how sturdy it is put together. I basically have to cut off the entire top. I don't think it's worth it. I don't really care that much. But anyways, I'll open up, one or two of them. You can see I don't I don't see anything there at all. Like this is I'm sure this would have been totally fine to just keep. I didn't have to change the oil even at 7,000 miles in this case. It looks really good. On the outside again, I don't see anything. There's no chunks in there. There's not like any sludge. Um there's no nothing, Some of these things you see, that's just pieces of the cord and stuff. It's not like chunks. Because I was cutting the cords off. Um but yeah, I think that looks fine. Like I don't see any reason why this filter is not, totally sufficient. So if you're thinking about these cheap Chinese paper filters for your Mercedes, I gotta say, go for it. From what I've seen, it seems like it's served its purpose really well. I'm gonna keep using them. $5 each, you really can't argue with that. And go ahead and put. I think most of the oils you're gonna find at Walmart or the parts store. I would definitely go with a full synthetic. I always go with full synthetic. Just because the price difference nowadays is barely like anything. You might save $2 a bottle for the big 5-quart bottles. Going with a conventional oil. I don't see any point when the synthetics are supposedly so much better. So that's what I would recommend. I'm currently, like I said, I'm running the full synthetic 10,000 mile Super Tech Walmart oil in mine, and I think that'll do great. But I'll update if anything, if that's not the case. So yeah. One thing I will also just mention, just kind of in general for this car, it has a pretty huge oil capacity. So it's just doing a drain and fill. It says 8.5 quarts. I found mine is a little bit less than that, so it's about 8 quarts, and that's probably partially because I'm using ramps, which is not really great because you're not getting a full drain, because it's kind of at an angle. But I'm not really worried about it because I am keeping up with it. It's not like it's going a long time between oil changes or particularly high mileage. 7,000 of highway miles. That's pretty low compared to modern recommendations you see, like cars are coming out that say 10, 15,000, sometimes even more, which is crazy. I definitely would not do that ever with any car. But that's what they say. So I'm not really that worried about, and that huge oil capacity might seem like a pain because you got to buy all that oil. Maybe it's expensive if you're using, expensive oil. But that's really a good thing. That's probably a big part of why these engines are known for being reliable and pretty robust, even for the power that they make. They have they've got a huge oil capacity, so you're not likely to run it low. You're not likely to have cooked or diluted oil in there as much as something with less. It's only a 5 liter engine, but it's got 8.5 quarts just from a drain and fill, so it's actually got more than that. Versus like my Ford truck with the 460, which is a 7.5 liter engine, and it drain and fill is 5 quarts. So that's way lower for a bigger engine. So it just gives you a much bigger buffer, better temperature control and everything. So I think that just makes for a very reliable engine, and that's been my experience so far. The thing, it's perfectly quiet, perfectly smooth. Um, it's making great power. The car can go, as fast as you need it to. Um, so yeah, I'm very happy with that. And if you take care of it and give it regular oil changes, I think you'll never have an issue with these cars. And I when I opened up the valve cover, there was like no sludge or varnish whatsoever, which is pretty amazing given the history of the car, having 5 owners, 100,000 miles, 20 years old. It was a fleet car at one point. I don't know what kind of fleet. It must have been some sort of like executive car service or something. And yeah, just no wear, no varnish, no sludge at all in there. It was like spotless in there. I've never seen even like newer cars that I've worked on haven't looked that good, in like under the valve cover. So very impressed with that. I think it's a good system there.